Tonight, Speaker of Parliament orders probe into Akosombo Dam Spillage that left at least 39,000 residents displaced.
It is unacceptable that an activity as potentially destructive as dam spillage was done without a well thought through security and safety preparedness plan. Parliament will take the necessary action to inquire into the matter.
So will the Energy Ministry cooperate with a parliamentary probe?
Surely, this House deserves accountability. And I do pledge that if it is next week Wednesday, I'll be here with AI.
Plus the contradictions from the Volta River Authority on whether or not they contracted waste management firm Zoom Lion to fumigate the flood-affected areas, while a statement from the authority says they have not. Its emergency preparedness coordinator says they have.
So the VRA contracted Zoom Lion to carry out fumigation and decontamination exercise.
This is Top Story with Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. After weeks of intense criticism and demands for accountability, Parliament will finally get a chance to probe the Volta River Authority for its handling of the spillage of the Akosombo Dam. That spillage left at least 39,000 people displaced and leaving in its wake a public health emergency. Demands from MPs from the affected areas for the declaration of a state of emergency has not been heeded just yet. Well, today, as desperate efforts continue to deal with the aftermath of the devastating floods, the issue has been dominating the first day of Parliament after the House returned from recess. Now, the minority today took the opportunity once Parliament opened to demand accountability and call for a parliamentary probe. Listen to the minority leader, Dr. Kaisel Atifosin.
In the last few weeks, Mr. Speaker, we have witnessed arguably the biggest man-made disaster to ever befall our nation. I am referring to the devastation caused by the spillage of the Akosombo Dam by the Volta River Authority. Mr. Speaker, as Minority Caucus, our hearts bleed for all the victims of this man-made disaster, which has rendered several thousands of people homeless and swept away farms, destroyed livelihood of many people in parts of Oti region, Volta region, Eastern region, Greater Accra region, Bono East, Savannah, and Northern regions. Mr. Speaker, the affected communities and regions have yet to recover from the aftermath of this disaster. The conduct of both the government and the Volta River Authority in terms of leading a coordinated emergency response and disaster relief effort leaves much to be desired. Right Honourable Speaker, I conclude by saying that we hereby serve notice that we will present a motion to demand a parliamentary inquiry into the circumstances that led to a man-made disaster of such magnitude.
Let me take you to Parliament and bring in my parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante. Kweku, what was the reaction to this by the majority?
Well, Evans, it's as if the majority knew that this was coming. Just before Parliament would actually sit, the majority leader, Mensah, flanked with almost all the leadership in the majority side, had held a news conference demanding that VRA be made to come before Parliament to demand answers. When this matter came up on the floor again, Mensah seized the opportunity to reiterate the demand that VRA be made to come before Parliament to answer questions. He was, however, clear in saying that some politicians are taking over the issue and were seeking to politicize the matter. A matter, he says, that should not be politicized.
Rains were going to positively impact our domestic food production and thereby bring down food inflation. The flooding may have a debilitating impact on crop harvest. Unfortunately, one would want to hope that it does not hugely impact the nation's food security. There are those who have lost property, as the minority leader has alluded to, those of them who have lost houses, livestock, money, vehicles, and even lives. Mr. Speaker, if there's anything that the Parliament of this country, the people's representatives, could do to demonstrate our concern. It is rise to the occasion. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, the House may have to invite the VRA to brief us on the situation relating to the spillage and all other connected matters. Mr. Speaker, I believe the Minister responsible for water resources and indeed energy as well may have to also come along. I've heard about some comments that have been made by some colleague members of Parliament. It is scary, Mr. Speaker. There's still some Ghanaians, including some MPs, go to politicize every single event in this country. As MPs, one of our core responsibilities is to inform and by that educate the citizenry.
And Kweku, I heard the majority leader talk about inviting VRA to come over to brief the House. It appears that the Speaker wants more than just a briefing.
The Speaker of Parliament agreed with the contention of the minority who have said that they were going to demand a brief. That even before they will file that private members pushing to make that demand, the Speaker of Parliament on his own and some of the Speaker of Labour had also been on the floor to make a statement. But the Speaker of Parliament is going ahead and saying that Parliament will have to look into this matter.
It cuts across from the coast up to the north. And so many more constituencies are affected, not just those downstream alone. And therefore, the task is enormous and we need to work on it together. But let me say that it is unacceptable that an activity as potentially destructive as dam spillage was done without a well thought through security and safety preparedness plan. As such, Parliament will take the necessary action to inquire into the matter and make recommendations for the protection of property and lives living along the Volta River and Lake and other settlements along riverbeds. Honorable members, this is a national assignment and Parliament should be seen to be leading in finding solutions to this somehow perennial problem confronting the nation.
And Kweku, the Energy Minister was also on the floor today, and there were questions around whether or not the government will agree to this, especially considering what we just heard from the Speaker. He wants more than a briefing. What did the Energy Minister say?
Well, the Energy Minister was commenting on the statement that had been made by Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa that had also demanded a parliamentary probe into the matter. In fact, both sides really agreed that Parliament really need to look into this matter. Matthew Toku Pembe says, well, his side is not against accountability, and he believes that VRA owes the public some level of accountability on this matter. He actually has issues with some of the narratives that have been in the public, and he says whenever Parliament needs him to bring VRA to come and answer questions from MPs, he will do so.
We will have to all together as a country, as individuals, pray and exercise solidarity with the people who have been affected. Surely, this House deserves accountability. And at what time? People of Ghana are affected as we speak. And governments and people should rally support to show that we are each our brother's keeper. As the lead for the agency that is being pummeled here, I can tell you, you have to listen to the other side. It is not all as if nothing has been done. But I can tell you, because of the climate change effects, predictions and forecasts by reputable agencies are failing. No. If you care to hear, I have said that this House demands full accountability and not apportioning blames. Just about 3 weeks ago, New York got flooded with all the best meteorological agencies. So I do accept that once there's a problem, there's a problem. And people will not just understand where even effects have not been mitigated. Mr. Speaker, that there is an interministerial team. Even though VRA is under the Ministry of Energy, we take responsibility. That is a national disaster, it's an emergency. It's not only affecting people south there, down. It's affecting people north the dam, from both dams of the Guan and on the White Water. We need a comprehensive statement and understanding of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I would have begged for even a longer time. But since this House needs to also be informed of what is going on in government activity, I am not the lead government agency. There's an interministerial advisory team headed by somebody, but we will take responsibility and come and tell you what VRA did and VRA hasn't done. Till when we finish with everything, we can all settle and listen and have a dispassionate opinion or views about what happened. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I do pledge that if it's next week Wednesday, I'll be here with VRA.
And I want to bring in now Samuel Kuyuta Blakwa. He is the Member of Parliament for North Tong. His constituency is one of the worst hit areas. He's been demanding for this probe. He joins us now. Mr. Blakwa, happy with what you heard today?
Certainly, progress is being made, and I would like to commend colleagues in the House. I would like to commend the Right Honourable Speaker. The Right Honourable Speaker was very emphatic today. It's a matter that cannot be swept under the carpet. Such a major spillage could not have happened without the necessary security and safety preparedness plans. And to the extent that this appears to have taken all of us by surprise, except those who masterminded this spillage, there ought to be an inquiry into this matter. And you notice that our leadership in the House was unanimous about the need to probe this matter forward. After I made my statement, you had the rallying support from colleagues. A lot of colleagues are affected, and this is a matter that goes beyond one constituency. Even though North Tong is the epicenter, there are so many other constituencies affected across multiple regions. So this is a disaster on a national scale, never seen in the history of our country. And I'm glad that today Parliament accorded this national disaster the seriousness that it deserves. I'm also glad that the promise that we made our people, the suffering people who are displaced, almost 40,000 people who now have to really live under inhumane conditions in classrooms, the promise we made to them that on the first day of the sitting of Parliament, we will raise this matter and we are not going to forsake them. I am glad that that objective has been met today.
And what form do you want this probe to take? I had the majority leader talk about a briefing of the House. Do you simply want a briefing?
No, we don't want a briefing. Is not a probe. The minister is assuring that next week he will come into the House with the VRA chief executive and his team to offer some kind of a briefing. That is a separate matter. They can have their briefings. They can hold press conferences. They are allowed to do that. But we are calling for a probe. We're calling for an inquiry where we will look beyond just statements that are made at a superficial level. We must understand exactly what happened. Why are we here? Why is it that since 1963 we have not seen anything like this? There was spillage in 2010. Why was that so well managed that we didn't have the fallouts that we have today? Why is it that as members of Parliament, nobody engaged us? Communities have been taken by surprise. Why is it that we didn't put in place measures as a country to take care of those who were in the lower Volta Basin? Even decent housing to make sure that people who will be affected are resettled in those decent houses. No arrangement has been made. As I speak to you, in my constituency, I have 21 camps where more than 12,000 people have had to be, crammed in all kinds of congested and inhumane, insanitary condition. I mean, why is this happening in this day and age? Why so much ineptitude, so much incompetence, so much recklessness? I mean, this could have led to mass murder. So there are serious questions that the VRA has to respond to. And more importantly, lessons must be learned so that moving forward, this does not happen. We must have a never again. Get to a point where we all are satisfied as a country that we have really delved into this matter, resolved the mystery, and put in place the necessary institutional reform that will ensure that there are guarantees for the future.
And Sam Okudeta-Blackwell, we have seen parliamentary probes in the past that led to nicely written reports that went nowhere. How will this be different?
You do have a point in that, and I believe that we are all learning lessons. We have become the wiser with the benefit of hindsight. Fortunately, this is a matter that I am glad that all those who spoke on the floor of the House today said that it is a matter that cannot be politicized. It is not a matter that people should take entrenched positions. We should put the lives of our people ahead of any other matter. And this could have happened to any of us. And if you look at the ramifications, I mean, we are not really out of the woods yet. There is a public health emergency looming. Our water systems can be polluted. Look, the fallout of this matter, has far-reaching consequences on all Ghanaians across the length and breadth of this country. So this is a matter like no other, and I am confident that all those who must bring a certain new attitude, a certain right, posture, will do that to ensure that the necessary steps are taken to forestall this from recurring in the future.
I mean, is it your objective that VRA is sanctioned? I've heard you say before that you also want VRA to take the bill for compensation. Is that what you want out of the process?
Absolutely. VRA has a lot of things that will have to come its way. First of all, there ought to be sanctions. The engineers who brought us to this point, the decision makers who brought us to this point, those who refused to spill long ago when they had to, those who waited to the last hour to engage in this attempted mass murder will have to answer questions. Then resettlement, that's the second part. Resettlement. People cannot live in classrooms for the rest of their lives. Homes that have been destroyed, homes that we cannot guarantee their structural integrity. There ought to be resettlement. Then number 3, there must be full compensation. People have lost livelihoods. They've lost their fish ponds. They've lost their livestock. They've lost their shops. They have lost their savings, their jewelry, everything. Yesterday, I met with persons living with disability. You'll be amazed how many wheelchairs, how many frames, how many clutches. They were not spared. And so all of these people who have lost everything they have worked for, the VRA and central government must be ready to pay full compensation. Nobody is going to be allowed to ruin people's lives, destroy people's lives, and then get away with it. It's not going to be a walk in the park. People will have to be ready to take responsibility for their actions. And it is one of the key things that we will be seeking to achieve with this probe.
Thank you very much, Sam Okudeta-Blackwell. He is Member of Parliament for North Tongue there on the day when the Speaker ordered a parliamentary inquiry into the spillage of the Akosombo Dam led by the VRA. And you just heard in there what his own expectations are. Tonight, I want to hear from you, 055-11-11997. Let's stay with the issues surrounding that spillage and the flooding that we've seen in the part of the country with at least 39,000 people affected. Today, the VRA has been denying that they've issued a contract to Zoom Lion, that's waste management company, to fumigate part of the areas. Yes, that fumigation is ongoing, but they're saying that it's not a contract that they have issued. And we're beginning to see some contradictions emerge on that front also. My colleague in the studio with me right now, Kojo Nyako. Kojo, what is it that VRA says in the statement?
Well, so Evans, the VRA states in this release that it has not awarded any contract to Zoom Lion for the fumigation of communities impacted by the controlled spillage. In fact, they go on to say that they have assistance being offered by institutions, companies, groups and individuals, and will continue to work with all stakeholders in their relief effort for the communities impacted by the controlled spillage from the Akosombo Dam. Okay, and this only became an issue because of concerns raised that Zoom Lion already has an existing contract with the assemblies in the affected areas to fumigate. So if this is a contract, then they're possibly being paid double for something that they should be doing anyway. Well, we'll hear from the VRA pretty shortly, but also Zoom Lion themselves. But I want to bring in my colleague Carlos, who has been on the ground and actually been speaking to all sides of this on this particular matter. And Carlos, we just listened to the VRA statement on this. You spoke to a VRA top official on the ground. What did he tell you about whether or not there's a contract?
All right, Ivan. So at the commencement of the fumigation exercise on Sunday, that's October 29, 2023, we spoke to the VRA's emergency preparedness coordinator in the person of Engineer Mensah, who said to us that the VRA had contracted Zoom Lion Ghana Limited to actually carry out the disinfection and fumigation exercises in areas affected by the flood, starting from Emefa in the Northtown district.
So the VRA contracted Zoom Lion to carry out fumigation and decontamination exercise at the areas where the water has receded significantly to make it safe for habitation again. So essentially, we have the assembly represented by the safety officer. We have the traditional rep from the traditional council. We also have other the chief executive himself, and the intention is to go to the areas we've inspected and we deem it to be dry for them to start some form of decontamination of the place.
Is the VRA considering extending this to all affected districts? We are told 8 or 9 of them.
So as and when it becomes necessary, of course. So we are looking at it. For today, our intention is to tackle Mepe area.
So Carlos, for him, this was and is a VRA-led initiative, and they've contracted Zoom Lion to do so. Those were his words, and this was from the emergency preparedness coordinator for VRA, Engineer Mensah. Today, you've been speaking to Zoom Lion themselves.
Yes, indeed, Ivan. So I spoke with the general manager of Vector Pest, which is a subsidiary of Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, Dr. Ebenezer Kwame Adai, who said categorically that Zoom Lion doesn't have any fumigation or disinfection contract at all with VRA or any district assembly. Rather, what Zoom Lion has with assembly is known as disinfestation contract, which even deals with specific areas.
We don't have any contractual agreement with VRA to undertake this exercise. This exercise we are doing is free of charge. It's Zoom Lion who is bearing all the costs of this disinfection and fumigation exercise as a social corporate responsibility to support the affected areas. Nobody have given us any document. Nobody have signed anything with us. We have begun it. We have bear the cost till now. If you remember, when we came to do our donation, the MD made it clear that we will also do fumigation and disinfection. So it was just last Saturday that we were given information that some areas have gone down. So there's a need for us to begin the fumigation and the disinfection. That is why we have come.
And Carlos, you've been monitoring this on the ground today. How has it progressed? And in the wake of this controversy that we've seen, with one, the VRA in a statement saying there's no contract, yet it's emergency preparedness coordinator telling you we have contracted the Zoom Lion. How is this being dealt with on the ground? What reactions are you getting to it? Because I heard the emergency preparedness coordinator say, and this is where the controversy also lies, that they all already have the local assembly working with them on this. But there's a distinction you're creating, is it not, between fumigation, which they say is not part of the contract with the assembly, and disinfestation, which is really what they say they have with the assembly. What reactions are you getting on the ground to this?
All right, so I tried to speak with the assembly people. They were really tight-lipped on the matter, but one guy actually told me, indeed, what he knows about the contract is that Zoom Lion has this infestation contract, not fumigation contract. And so far, they've been able to fumigate about 1,284 houses in the Emefa area. So the fumigation is ongoing as we speak, Ivan.
Carlos, thank you very much. And definitely there are questions still remaining on this subject. The VRA needs to clarify and reconcile at least the position that they have articulated in their press release today, which essentially says there is no contract with Zoom Lion, and that we just played for you, with Carlos had been talking about, that we heard from its emergency preparedness coordinator, who was categorical that they had contracted Zoom Lion. This is a VRA initiative, and they're working with the assemblies for this to happen. That needs to be reconciled as far as this matter going forward is concerned. You want to stay with us on this and other issues. Plus, coming up on News Night, is the Electoral Commission really creating 25 other constituencies before the 2024 elections? We have answers for you. We'll be hearing from the Electoral Commission as it lays a CI before Parliament for the creation of a constituency.
Ever visited a shop, picked a whole basket of provisions, toiletries, and very essential things you need, battled a long queue to finally pay, only to be told you can't pay to a merchant number? The way that thing they pay, but with Vodafone Cash, there is no problem. Now on Vodafone Cash, you can pay all merchants on all networks. Easy peasy. Aye straight. Aye direct. Aye sharp. From your Vodafone Cash wallet to any merchant's number on other networks. So whether you are buying provisions or fuel, medication or food, whatever the service or need, just pay conveniently from Vodafone Cash to any merchant's number. Simply dial *110# to make payment to merchants on other networks today.
Vodafone. Ready? Let's go. We all go bring some savannah.
Everyone is dancing, everyone is singing, because everyone is painting with Savannah. Savannah paints from Azar are affordable enough for everybody to fulfill their paint needs. Paint more, pay less. Savannah paint, we all go paint some.
We all go paint some savannah. We all go paint some.
In the next 60 minutes here on News Night, Christian Council condemns robbery and kidnapping of Pentecost deacon at the Johannesburg branch of the church as it discloses the church is working tirelessly with government to ensure the release of the kidnapped church leader.
We've heard of all of this issues from South Africa, and it's something that we've all been concerned about. And happening in the way that it happened, that people were robbed and all that kidnapped, is one which was utmost concern for all of us.
We'll bring you more as we explore the question of whether government is doing enough to secure the release of the Ghanaian Deacon. Also tonight is the Electoral Commission really creating 25 new constituencies as they submit a CI to rectify the omission of sore areas in Parliament laid in the House to create new Guan constituency.
This is the instrument that is likely to save this House and forgive us for the cardinal sin that we are said to have committed. It deals with the issue of the SAP.
Meanwhile, residents in Seoul charge Parliament to resist the Electoral Commission's new constitutional instrument seeking to create Guan constituency, pending the court's ruling on the matter.
And I believe all the parliamentarians who are very much interested or wanted to uphold the rule of law must resist this. South people would not be happy.
We have details for you on this. Plus, 5 more kidney patients die as the renal dialysis unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital remains closed to OPD despite assurances from authorities.
The death toll has risen from 14 patients of our last press conference to 19 patients. Lives are being lost needlessly due to the lack of adequate dialysis.
And in business, cement sales in Ghana hit a 2-year low, signaling a slowdown of construction activities. We have details from the Bank of Ghana.
In sports, Evelyn Bedu stars as Ghana's Black Queens beat Benin an inch closer to Olympic qualification.
And later here on your election headquarters.
Amongst the 4 of us who are contesting, it is me that the NDC fears more than anybody else. When they wake up in the morning, Bawumia, in the afternoon, Bawumia, at night, Bawumia, when they drink, Bawumia.
We're live in the Upper East region as Vice President Dr. Bawumia crowns his regional campaign with the mum of rally saying he is the man to beat the NDC. His fellow contender, Dr. Owusu Akoto, says he holds the key to breaking the 8 for the party, but he is warning any attempt to subvert the will of the delegates will be disastrous for the party.
If we are not seen to be having a level playing field, after 4th November, it's going to be very difficult to unite the party against the NDC. And for me, that is my worry.
And tonight, the Christian Council of Ghana is condemning the robbery and kidnapping of a deacon at the Johannesburg branch of the Church of Pentecost. The video of the incident, which has since gone viral, depicts gun-wielding men attacking the church and making way with an unspecified amount of money believed to be church donations. Now, Ghana's High Commission in Pretoria, South Africa, says it is working with the Church of Pentecost and the South African Police Service to ensure the speedy and safe release and return of a deacon who was kidnapped on Sunday. Now, some members of the Ghanaian community say they've been left in fear following this incident. Richard Miriku is a Ghanaian gospel musician living in South Africa.
At a point of time like this, it puts fear, panic on us Ghanaians that lives here in South Africa. We have so many things that are happening here that we can't tell it all. But I think this has been the limelight right now that is trending here in South Africa. Imagine a whole church being robbed. We're really not feeling comfortable at all. It's a new branch that has been opened, I think some years ago, a few years ago in Donfontein. So that I pray that it shouldn't happen to any other church, including anybody, especially Ghanaians here in South Africa. We Ghanaians and most of the foreigners in South Africa are not safe regarding all these documentations. I think even nowadays they don't even check if you have a permit and it's valid or not. All they need to know is you are a foreigner and they are arresting you. They need to take you to the cells, then you pay before you get back. They always take money and then they will take you back from the cells, which meaning we are not safe. So even if the police and immigration are doing this to us, how much more those cramming people that are ready to rob us and then harm us. So we're not actually safe, but I think we are covered by the blood of Jesus, and then we are praying for protection. If there will be any help from the High Commission here in South Africa to talk to the government or something, I think it will really help us. I really want to say this because it has happened to me so many times, being arrested by the immigration. Sometimes they even see you and take your money. With the police, sometimes they will see you and then they will put something in your car and tell you that you are selling this or you're doing this, which is not true.
So that's a view there from South Africa, from one member of the Ghanaian community. Chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, Bishop Heliadela Dogbe, says the incident is unfortunate and has since placed the Christian Council, the Christian community, on edge.
It's a sad situation and a very unfortunate one, coming all the way from South Africa, where it appears as if the church is under siege. We know that it's not something against just foreigners. We've heard of all of this issues from South Africa, and it's something that we've all been concerned about. And happening in the way that it happened, that people were robbed and all that kidnapped, is one which was utmost concern for all of us. We commiserate with the Church of Pentecost in this situation. I would believe that it's not an issue for just the Church of Pentecost, but the entire Christian community of Ghana. So we're all praying along, and we've read a statement from the government also, and we're willing to work with them in any way that we can to make sure that the elder is found to reunite with his family.
But do you think government intervention is enough?
Well, the government has assured us that they are working at a diplomatic level. I currently do not have any details of the nature of the diplomacy that they are working on and the nature of the relationships that they're trying to foster on to find this person. So I've reached out to the chairman of the Church of Pentecost, and I know that he's also working with the government in that regard.
But in terms of intervention, did he give you a sense of what the church is also doing in order to ensure that this elder who has been kidnapped is brought back home safely?
Well, they're working seriously with the government, and I know of that for sure, that they're working with the government. As to the fine details of it, I'm not aware, but I know they're working with them. As they reach out to the people in South Africa, also the government and the mission in South Africa seriously find it.
So that's a Christian council there talking to us about this particular incident. And for those of you who actually haven't seen this really worrying video, Emefa Apawu goes to church very religiously, and I can imagine her on the Sunday in the church, in the spirit, and then this happens.
Oh yes, sir.
So at this point, the gun-wielding men enter. One of them then kicks the pastor on the floor, gets him to get up, puts the gun on him, tries to take something from his pocket. You could hear actually a baby cry in the background. Everybody is forced now to lay flat on the floor whilst this particular gentleman still in short. And it's obvious Emefa Apawu now in church services there's a live stream. It appears this was captured whilst the church was in session.
Exactly, and a rather worrying situation, and that led to the kidnapping of that deacon. We're told the deacon was called out, and when he came, and that's when they took him away with an unspecified amount of money as well. But in the last few minutes, the Church of Pentecost has just sent a communication to its districts and various assemblies, and my colleague Michael Ashali has a copy of that particular communication, joins us in studio. What exactly is the church communicating to its members?
However, just to highlight how
concern the churches. This was signed actually by Eric Nyamicha, Apostle Eric Nyamicha, who is the chairman of the Church of Pentecost, addressed to all assemblies, the Church of Pentecost, and worldwide. Now, to the statement itself, it says the church is currently collaborating with Ghana's High Commission in South Africa, as well as with the South African authorities, to secure the release of our brother. In the meantime, the church will embark on a 3-day prayer and fasting session from October 31st to November 2nd, 2023, for the health and release of our brother. Then it goes ahead now to give some more instructions that's going to happen in the church. Now, during the period, we'll also be interceding for global peace with particular emphasis on the ongoing conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine. From today, there will be a virtual joint prayer session every day at 2200 GMT, which is 10 p.m. here in Ghana. These sessions will be held from the studios of one of their TV stations, and members are encouraged to connect.
Well, so the church does not give update on the well-being of this particular gentleman, who he is, amongst others, just yet.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That's my colleague Michael Papania Shali there with that communication from the church to its members in terms of district assemblies, amongst other servants.
And we want to follow this story because, as you know now, there is a frantic search for the deacon who's still not been found. And the last communication that we read to you was from our embassy in South Africa saying we're working with the local police to look for him. Let's get an update on this. A South African journalist, Yakubu Moro, has been kind enough to follow this and will speak to us right now. And thank you very much, Moro, for your time here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. Hello, Yakubu. Okay. We will get him to give us the very latest on this. What we want to know is...
Hello, please come in.
Yes, I can hear you. And thank you for agreeing to talk to us on this matter. Do we have any latest on whether or not authorities there have made any progress in finding a deacon, in securing his release?
Currently, we don't have any current update on the said matter. What normally happens is... kidnapping isn't news in South Africa. That is the new norm of crime that we are witnessing in the country. So normally, when these criminals do kidnap someone, they might even spend more than a month before they will make an approach to demand for a ransom. After the ransom has been paid, that is when they will release the person to probably the family. So normally, the police will be on high alert, monitoring every calls, text messages that goes in both ways. So these criminals also have now changed their mode of operandi to the extent that they might even relocate from Johannesburg to probably a different region or a different province. When now they feel like the police are no longer interested in the matter, that is when they will decide to come out to demand for a ransom. As I speak with you, we are sitting with another incident, but this is a South African, a Muslim, who was also kidnapped right after closing from his shop. It's almost 3 weeks now. The family have no idea where the father is. The police are also on high alert following that incident. There are a lot of other issues relating to foreigners who have been kidnapped in this country. Some of them are mostly being found, but at a later stage and after when the ransom has already been paid. But the unfortunate is the police hardly arrest these criminals who are involved in the various kidnappings. It's not easy for the police to deal with because some of the family also, the moment they have a connection or a link to speak with the kidnappers, they don't even further involve the police. They want immediate release of their relatives, so they will just do as the kidnappers say by paying the ransom secretly, and then they get their family or relative, then the case will be swept under the carpet.
Well, but from what you know, Yakubu, has there been any ransom demands from the last few minutes to the Church of Pentecost or the family of this deacon for that matter?
Not as we speak. And what happened was when the robbers stormed the church, they were already asking for the elder. The elder, we are aware that he was working with one of the South African banks right here in South Africa. And then when the robbers stormed the church, they demanded for him. So this tells us that it might have been something which is not even relating to the activities of the church. Maybe they were sent or they've been monitoring him from various corners and they realized that at this point in time, he will be present at this place. That is why probably they took only him to wherever they felt that is where they'll be able to hold him hostage. So we are hoping that maybe there wouldn't be any physical harm to him, and probably they might abandon him somewhere else without even demanding for a ransom. Because if that ransom comes in, it normally goes with a deadline. Failing to pay the ransom at this specific deadline might result in a different case, of which we don't want it to go to such further. Most Ethiopians have been in this situation before. And normally it happens between fellow Ethiopians who kidnap their own. Then later on, they demand for ransom. So when the family pays that ransom, they release the person who has been kidnapped. And it is the first of its kind that we've heard a Ghanaian who has been involved in such incidents. But with other migrants like Nigerians, Zimbabweans, South Africans, it isn't even news. But with we Ghanaians is the first of its kind. And robbing a church or a Ghanaian church in South Africa isn't also the first time, especially in this year. 6 miles down the lane, there was another Ghanaian church in another region or province called Mpumalanga, which shares a close border with Mozambique. The Ghanaians were busy congregating, and then suddenly armed men stormed into the church. They demanded for their cell phones, but there was no kidnapping. Then they left. So maybe I will use this opportunity to encourage our very own Ghanaians to probably tighten their security, both in their workplace and in their church. The footage that we had, thank God, it was just one gentleman who used his cell phone to take videos of the sermon. It was streaming on Facebook. Had it not been that, we wouldn't have had a single footage. And this tells us that there's probably no CCTV footage being mounted in the church premises.
Yeah, and Yakubu Moro, thank you very much. And in the video, you see the faces of the individuals who walked in, the gun-wielding men storming the church, asking everybody to lay flat on the floor. They kick the pastor, then they take something from him. They ask him to get up. This obviously is something that we are following very closely, Emefa, as we wait to hear the latest from our own authorities.
Because I was hoping that Yakubu could also address the issue about what security has said. Now that we know the faces, we've seen the faces of these men. Yakubu, have we had any communication from the police in South Africa on this matter?
Not as we speak. The police on some of these instances, they don't want to divulge more of the details to the public because they know the criminals are also monitoring the various media so that they'll be able to disguise themselves whenever they go out. We've seen the footage. We our own self can even recognize some of the faces when we come across them on the street. So the police also, in trying to prevent such, they don't even bother to inform the public on most of the findings that they've already gathered with. Maybe our embassy is another avenue that we might also encourage them to be firm in dealing with the incident. You'll be like, let me just break this also to you. Our previous ambassador, which is His Excellency Dr. George Orisi Boateng, was also robbed at gunpoint whilst he was serving as the ambassador. So that tells us about the situation we are sitting in this country.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's Yakubu there, Moro. He's a journalist in South Africa. Well, we know that this incident is coming on the heels of that historic event tomorrow. We know that starting tomorrow, all Ghanaians can go to South Africa visa-free, or the reciprocal visa waiver agreement, which will allow nationals of both countries to enter the other country visa-free for business and tourism purposes. We know we'll take it further. But let's take a listen to Ambassador at Large and Special Advisor to the Foreign Affairs Minister, Kwabena Osei-Dankwa.
Both states, both governments are invested in it. This is something that has been worked on for some time, and there's enthusiasm for it. I tell you, one of the reasons why it was possible, apart from the fact that we maintain the highest possible relationship with South Africa, is that and from what I hear, in South Africa, for instance, the reason why other African countries do not have this facility and we do is that there is a perception of Ghanaians which is positive. You know, whether it's our business people, whether it's our professionals, whether it's our citizens going there, the way they have conducted themselves has been very helpful. Now, don't forget, and I know that the president of Kenya announced yesterday that by the end of this year they're going to do
December.
Yes. Look, the African Union has a free movement protocol, which so far has been signed by 33 countries.
Well, so that's the ambassador at large and special advisor to the Foreign Affairs Minister, Kwabna Osei Dankwa, there, interacting with my colleague Blessed Suga on Africa Connect, which is currently ongoing on the Joy News channel. Now, let's head to Parliament away from this particular issue. And Parliament has been asked to consider a new instrument which creates a new constituency for the SAL areas. The constituency, which will be known as the Guan constituency, is to rectify the constitutional anomaly that has left thousands of residents in the area without representation in Parliament, and this has been such a big issue. Well, the EC's action in not allowing residents in SAL to vote in the parliamentary election in 2020 has been roundly condemned, and the new instrument has been laid and has been referred to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee by the Speaker. Listen.
Representation of the People Parliamentary Constituencies Amendment Instrument 2023.
Honourable members, the Representation of the People Parliamentary Constituencies Amendment Instrument 2023 is referred to the Committee on Subsidiary Legislation for consideration and report to the House. This is the instrument that is likely to save this House and forgive us for the cardinal sin that we are said to have committed. It deals with the issue of the SAL, and a number of them have now come up for consideration by the House.
And Emefa, shortly after this became public, during a press conference, it was suggested that the Electoral Commission was proposing to create 25 new constituencies. Thankfully, we can bring in now the Deputy Chairperson of the Commission, Dr. Bosman Asari, joins us on the line right now. Dr. Asari, thanks for your time here on News 9.
Good evening, Mr. Mensah.
Great to have you. So, quickly clarify this for us. So, this CI that has been submitted, from what we understand, how many constituencies is it creating?
Good evening to you, and good evening again to your listeners. And if there are viewers, good evening to them. The EC is only creating one constituency, which is the Guan constituency.
And explain to us why this has become necessary.
You know, in 2020, ahead of the general elections, somewhere on November 9th, the Parliament created the Guan district. So when the Parliament created the Guan district, the EC was left with inadequate time to be able to prepare a document to create that constituency. So because of that action by Parliament, we were not able to ensure that the people of the SAL area, which is now the Guan district, will take part in the 2020 parliamentary election. So the EC has now worked on a new document which will lead to the amendment of some of the electoral areas in both Jasikan and the Guan district, so that we can create the Guan constituency. So just to clarify again, the EC is not creating any 25 constituencies. We are only creating one constituency, so that for 2024 elections, we are going to have 276 constituencies, and not the 300 some people are speculating.
So what this means is, in the next 21 days, if indeed matures, this becomes effective, and then the Guan constituency will have been created. The people there in 2024 gets to vote for their parliamentary candidate.
Yes, please. That's what we are doing.
Okay. Now, talking about the creation of constituencies, if you look at the Constitution, Article 47.5, it gives you certain parameters and triggers for the creation of new constituencies. It says, for example, that you shall review the division of Ghana into constituencies at intervals of not less than 7 years or within 12 months after the publication of the enumeration figures, after the holding of a census of the population of Ghana, whichever is earlier, and may, as a result, alter the constituencies. Considering that we've had already the census, is the EC considering triggering this process for the creation of a new constituencies?
As you read in the Constitution, clearly the EC is clothed with the power to do that. But currently, as I speak to you now, we are only creating the Guan constituency. If there are constituencies to be created, we still have the whole of 2024 to be able to think through, to be able to discuss with our stakeholders. But as we speak now, the EC hasn't taken any decision on creating additional constituencies beyond the Guan constituency.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bosman Asare.
Welcome and best wishes to the Joy team.
And that's the Deputy Chairperson of the Electoral Commission there, clarifying that as we speak tonight, although the Constitution is very clear that within 12 months after the census, and of course it's if you look at when the census was done recently, they are actually beyond the 12-month period, but also gives it another trigger, which is the at intervals of not less than 70 years. But it says, as of this moment, there is no consideration to create additional constituencies. What you're doing now is only the Guan constituency. Later down the line, if that consideration becomes something that they would want to deal with, they will let us know.
But already, the co-chair of the Joint Steering Committee of the Apawu Lulubi traditional areas, Dr. Joe Adai, says they are unhappy with the move by the EC. They are actually charging Parliament to resist the Electoral Commission's new CI seeking to create this Guan constituency pending the court ruling on this particular matter.
So the real issue is that EC is trying to legalize what is an illegality through the back door in Parliament. And I believe all the parliamentarians who are very much interested or wanted to uphold the rule of law must resist it. Because we are in court, and then 2 days before judgment, you go to court and say they should ignore the court and then grant you your free will, or they should give you an open check to do what you wanted to do. Like I said earlier on, EC is wrong to use an administrative fiat to disenfranchise 4 traditional areas. We are paying taxes equally as every Ghanaian, and as at now, we have nothing. Nothing is working. We don't have an MP. We have nothing. We have nobody to complain to. And instead of you amending that, you go through the back door again, wanted to use some other Takashi and then to add sorrow to the injuries that you have inflicted on us. South people would not be happy. And then we get representation or a voice in Parliament. That is all that we are seeking to. EC is not doing us any favor or good. They have messed up. They must just admit, and we move on.
Well, so that's the Central Kofi, Lulubi and Akbafu traditional area and the concerns that they've raised about the creation of SAL. Well, in the coming days, we'll get to see how this all pans out in Parliament. You're listening to Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. Later in the election headquarters, well, we're live in the Upper East region as Vice President Baumia crowns his regional campaign with a mammoth rally saying he's the man to beat the NDC. While his fellow contender, Dr. Owuswefri Yakutu, says he holds the key to breaking the aids for the party, but he's warning any attempt to subvert the will of the delegates will be disastrous for the MPP.
Amongst the 4 of us who are contesting, it is me that the NDC fears more than anybody else. When they wake up in the morning, Baumia, in the afternoon, Baumia, at night, Baumia, when they drink, Baumia.
We are not seen to be having a level playing field. After 4th November, it's going to be very difficult to unite the party against the NDC. And for me, that is my worry.
Later, as Presec Guan continue to wallow in victory after successfully breaking the 8, we'll hear the story of one of the 2023 NSMQ winners who vowed in junior high school to win the trophy after he witnessed his brother suffer a painful loss to Ogasco in 2019.
The three schools came with one expectation: to win the trophy.
And that expectation was met by only one.
Yeah, and also we'll focus on the walk of shame, or Johnny walks the talk. Is that what it is? Is it a walk of shame or Johnny walks the talk? Update on John Dumelo's backward walk from after Presec beat his alma mater Achimota.
You want to stay with us for that and more right after business. And we're talking about Presec and OWAS and others. What's your school?
I went to Winneba. We don't go anywhere.
You went to Winneba?
Yes, Winneba Secondary School.
You went to Winneba.
During the competition.
I was just wondering.
Winneba, have you participated in NSMQ before?
We hardly get anywhere because we have the likes of Infante Pim, Ogasco, Wegehe. They beat us even before we get anywhere.
It's so refreshing when you hear somebody admit that we are inferior to another school.
Oh, did they say they are inferior? Did she say that?
The first question you ask is that we haven't done it because others are there. In that sense, you're saying that others are better.
We can't lie to ourselves. I mean,
hear that?
Oh.
Hear that?
We just hope.
It's therapeutic, Emefa Apawu. Just accept.
GJ award winner.
Just accept.
Wait, it's okay. Let's put that aside. This is the GJ award winner, and she's from Winneba Secondary School. You know, you are from which school? Autumn.
I'm St. Thomas Aquinas.
NSMQ, Bobo, GJ Awards, Bobo.
But that is why we have Emma Davis.
Yes.
To win for us.
We're so proud of
you.
Emma.
Thank you.
Charlie, so higher.
Thank you. Yeah. So, Business or News Night is brought to you by MTN, Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntex Tanks, and Pepsodent Charcoal and Herbal. Cement sales in Ghana hit a 2-year low, signaling a slowdown of construction activities. And stakeholders in the procurement sector call for enforcement of sanctions on MMDAs breaching procurement laws.
Hey, Ma, the way you're always getting alerts these days, I wouldn't be surprised to hear that you have gotten a Momo for Business account by my next visitor.
Oh, I'm already on Momo for Business.
Since when?
Since. Now, it's easy to apply for a merchant SIM. All you need is a registered MTN number, your business certificate, your Ghana card, and you are good to go.
Sir.
You think you are the only one who knows what's up, eh? Look, I just dialed *5051#, selected register, and the region I was requesting the SIM from, and waited for my SMS with my reference number. You can even go online at momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh and complete the details for an even better experience.
Hey, Grandma Momo.
Sign up for Momo for Business the easy and simple way. Just visit momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh or dial *5051# and follow the prompts and be on your way to owning a Momo business account today for free. MTN.
Hooray! The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us once again. From the 4th of September to the 31st of October 2023, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% to 15% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and so much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, Winneba, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stock lasts. For more information, call us on 0302 764 101 or 0302 764 209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project or demand, choose Syntex tank. Syntex tank, stress-free. Syntex tank, reliable. Syntex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, strong, tough.
For over 10 years, Old Mutual has been touching lives in Ghana. Whether you're a trader or a student, an entrepreneur or an employer, or nearing your retirement, we have the right financial solutions tailored just for you. Contact Old Mutual on 030-7000-600 or visit our website on oldmutual.com.gh to learn more. And let's realize your financial freedom together. 10 years of greatness, here for a lifetime. Old Mutual, do great things every day.
Media Sambisanda Moa. And the Amratiano, Mumu, Panet, Mufin, Podompe, Mumana Yakono. Eh, Quabna. No Mumu wants me to be just my memory in that day. And the crow, complete Mirin and Bodom, so you super accident ever. I had a binding to Braye, who see it in a mobile, some man of what in it. Sir, I now could you soon use super accident Chaco, Nenry dear, a mouse, and we could fit. No, what you ask you, my mother feel you. Kojo, sir. Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. A baby, you're gonna natural.
FDIJ Jadion Katuyatu.
Welcome to Business on Newsnight. My name is Emma Davis. Let's settle for the details. The total cement sales in the country hit a 2-year low, signaling a dip in construction sector activities. Data from the Bank of Ghana indicates that the total cement sale for the first 7 months of this year was estimated at 195,000 metric tons. The following report has more.
The figures from the Bank of Ghana showed that since February 2021, cement sales have been declining. This is due to the current state of the economy, where the government is undertaking a debt exchange program. This has significantly reduced government spending and consequently slowed down construction projects championed by the government. For example, major road projects in the Greater Accra region and the Ashanti region have all come to a halt due to the directives to stop construction works. Some observers have pointed out that such projects do not only create employment but help increase the sale of building materials in the country.
That was a News Desk report. The Chief Executive Officer of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Kofi Owusu-Nkansah, has indicated that government will roll out a $100 million phase 2 of the U-Start program to support startups. According to Mr. Nkansah, the second phase of the program is aimed at enforcing government's commitment to support the growth of small and medium sector businesses. He spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the 2023 Ghana Startup Week.
The opportunities and interventions for the startups and SMEs are ongoing. Currently, we are designing a youth employment solution, which is the Youth Start Phase 2 with the World Bank, for instance, and I know the minister may mention it in the budget. And when that takes off, more people are going to get capacity building. Over the next 2 to 3 years, we're expected to train about 120,000 people and give grants to about 12,000 people out of that number. All these are ongoing interventions. Ghana Skills Development Fund is also ongoing. Economic Transformation Project is also ongoing. Phase 2 will come. The Youth Start intervention for the youth employment, the phase 2 that I'm talking about, is about $100 million.
Kofi Owusu-Nkansah is the CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. A procurement analyst, Dr. Kangsing Bente, is calling on the Public Accounts Committee to enforce sanctions on MMDAs to help reduce procurement irregularities at the local government level. According to him, stiffening sanctions is one of the critical ways of empowering institutions to engage in prudent spending. Dr. Bente spoke to Joy Business on the Joy Business Summit.
leveraging on Ghana to do the sourcing within the procure to implement cycle, there's going to be significant reduction in these irregularities and is associated with negative financial impact to public financial discipline and then the budget issues that we have. I think PAC should continue to do their work, and to the extent that they will follow up to enforce the sanctions regime and get people punished and deepen the level of stiffness of the punishment for non-compliance. This within the short term could resolve or reduce drastically the level of infractions.
Procurement analyst Dr. Kanksin Binte. The Joy Business Summit will continue tomorrow at 1 p.m. on the Joy News channel. Blochem Industries Limited, producers of Belaqua mineral water and Bell Beverage, has launched the Bell Aqua's mental health campaign dubbed Take a Break. The company also used the opportunity to launch a new bottle with the mental health logo on it. This, according to Blochem, is to create awareness of mental health related challenges. According to the marketing manager of Blochem Industries Limited, Magnus Day, the campaign is part of giving back to society.
We actually saw the need for a mental health campaign because the statistics worldwide is becoming scarier and people are not confronting the issues as they are supposed to. There's a lot of stigma around mental health issues. So Belaqua thinks that this is the time to act and have a conversation. I know going for screening, going for therapy is foreign even to us as Ghanaians. So we want to open our doors. We want to create awareness and educate us that as important as it is to take care of our bodies, making sure that we are well clothed, we are looking good, our minds need the care.
Magnus Day is the marketing manager for Blochem Industries. Star Life Insurance, as part of its 18th year anniversary, has donated over 1,000 pieces of sanitary pads to students of the Apawu cluster of schools. According to the public and media relations manager of Star Life Insurance, Francis Terrier, the gesture forms part of the company's corporate social responsibility.
As part of our 18th anniversary, we launched a campaign called Sprinkle Stars Campaign. Sprinkle Stars Campaign is basically to support young girls across the country. So we are here at Apawu cluster of schools just to support the young girls with sanitary pads. So there's about 1,260 pieces of sanitary pads. We are not doing it just here. We are in some schools like at Amasaman, some other schools at Amrahia, and when you go to Kumasi, Tamale, Takrade.
You heard Public and Media Relations Manager of Star Life Insurance, Francis Terrier. That's all for business news on Newsnight. My name is Emma Davis.
Thank you very much, Emma, and we'll see you on TV in a bit, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, she'll be on the Joy News channel for Joy News Prime Business Edition. Well, despite the numerous assurances from relevant authorities to intervene in the treatment of kidney patients after Joy News Dialysis Crisis Thought Leadership, the unit remains closed to outpatients. According to the kidney patients, the death toll has increased from 14 as of October 2nd to 19 as of today due to the closure of the facility. The distressed patients are calling on the government to swiftly intervene to get the centre running in order to save lives. Before we hear the plight of these patients, though, let's listen to the CEO of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Opoku Wariampoma, explaining the cause of the closure of the unit of the OPD when he appeared on Joy News Thought Leadership on dialysis crisis.
The renal unit has a deficit or has a financial deficit of 4 million cedis that we need to, that we are trying to find ways of.
Is that debt?
Yes, that's
or you
debt.
owe a supplier?
No, it's debt. Yes, debt that we owe.
How do you accrue that? How was that accrued?
It's because of the under recovery from the service that we are providing, and so to run at full throttle would mean that with this debt is going to balloon. Okay, and that is why there was a need for us to look at adjusting the price. But then we also have about 45 machines that the supplier or the supplier is supposed to bring in that have been withheld.
Now, also on that same program, we heard from the Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Siasari, who gave the assurance that the money will be paid to facilitate a speedy reopening of the OPD.
Yes, there's discussion going on.
So they will get the money. You can assure them, because everybody's listening. This is very, very important.
Yes, they have to be supported for Ghanaians to get the treatment.
So you can assure us today on the show that Kolebu will get the money to open the OPD.
Kolebu's chief executive was at the presidency yesterday of the board chairman. So
I just want to get a commitment. They will get the money.
Oh, the government is to assist and help the people. So whatever government wants to do to assist the people, that's what government
they will do. Then let's go to the question that was asked of you.
The question which was asked was, what are we doing about organ donation?
Yes.
Well, so there you have it. The assurance was they will have it. As it turns out, they have still not received the funds. At least the evidence of that is the continued closure of that OPD. And we've been hearing from the dialysis, the kidney patients today. They've been addressing a news conference telling us that it remains closed. Listen to them address a news conference today.
As we speak, the cabin is still closed to outpatients, and that is having a devastating effect on the patients. The death toll has risen from 14 patients of our last press conference to 19 patients. Lives are being lost needlessly due to the lack of adequate dialysis. We humbly appealing to the government again to help us and ensure these four things. 1. To provide the needed support for the unit at Kolebu to settle indebtedness of 4 million Ghana cedi to suppliers so that OPD cases can resume at Kolebu renal unit immediately. 2. To grant tax waivers for all components required in the treatment of kidney disease. 3. To expedite the processes to have ESRD treatments, catheter fixing, labs, and medication on National Health Insurance Scheme. 4. To increase access to dialysis centers across the nation so that patients could not have to travel long distance for dialysis. Specialist consultations and fixing of access such as fistula and catheter that are important requirements for dialysis to commence. We once again extend our cry for help to the general public, philanthropists, churches, Islamic bodies, business organizations, NGOs to come to the aid of ESRD patients across the country.
So that's Daniel Hammond, spokesperson for the kidney patients there at that press conference today, hoping that something would change. Well, that promise was given you about, 3 weeks or so ago?
No, it's been a month. And that's the thing. This is a story that we will follow. Mm-hmm. And that's why we keep getting these press conferences happen, but also featuring it here, because the promise was made on the show. We've been checking with Kolebu. It appears that hasn't happened yet, although the assurance was made. In fact, that evening, it was said to us that a meeting had been had with the president, assurance had been made. The CEO said they have fulfilled their part of the request for them to bring information, and we're waiting for this to be resolved. And we expect that this will be resolved in a week. 5
more deaths.
Yeah.
And these are the ones that we can count. Yeah. These are lives.
You can trust that
what really can we get right then?
To give us the answers.
Well, let's do sports.
Let's go straight into the stories. And Evelyn Bedu starred as Ghana's Black Queens beat Benin 2-0 earlier today to inch closer to Olympic qualification. The win was the team's 9th straight victory since head coach Nora Haptel took over. Lawrence Bedu was at the stadium and reports.
Ghana's Black Queens are through to the third round of qualifiers for the 2024 Olympic Games following their 2-0 win over Benin at the Accra Sports Stadium. An Evelyn Bedu second half strike and an own goal from Benin sealed a 2-0 win for Ghana, who won on aggregate 5-0. Nora Haptel's side will meet Zambia in the third round of qualifiers after their win over Benin. However, they will return to action in November, where they face Namibia in the qualifiers for the 2024 Africa Cup of Nations.
Joy Sports, Lawrence Bedu bringing an end to sports. Back to you guys.
Let's get into the election headquarters now. Well, and in your election headquarters this evening, we are preparing for the D-Day, the day most of you have been waiting for, November 4, and that's the presidential primaries of the NPP. Well, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has strongly asserted that he is the National Democratic Congress's formidable challenger heading into the 2024 election among his fellow contenders. Well, he's been holding a mammoth rally to wrap up his Upper East regional campaign tour, and this is what he's been saying.
Contesting. Amongst the four of us who are contesting, it is me that the NDC fears more than anybody else. It is me. The rest of the contestants, the NDC doesn't mind them at all. They don't insult them. They don't lie about them. They don't do propaganda about them. But when they wake up in the morning, Bawumia, in the afternoon, Bawumia, at night, Bawumia, when they dream, Bawumia is who they dream about. So, why does Bawumia give them so much headache? Why is Bawumia giving them so much pressure? Why is Bawumia worrying them like that? Let me explain to you. The NDC has 3 strongholds in Ghana. 3. Volta region, the 5 northern regions, and the Zongo communities in the south. 3 strongholds. When the NDC goes to Volta region, they say to them, the NPP is an uncount party. Don't vote for them. Isn't that what they say? When they come to the north, they come here and they tell us MPP is a Kambonga party.
Let's bring in Samuel Mbura with our political desk. He is embedded with the Bawumia campaign, covering this for us tonight, and joins us right now. And he's been touring the northern part of the country. What has been the reception among delegates?
Evan, good evening. I must say it has been an electric reception from the delegates, especially from his home region, the northeast region. When we went there yesterday, we had imams, opinion leaders, chiefs coming out to pour their support for him. Some of them are not even delegates, but they say that he is their son. And beyond that, he is competent to lead the MPP and subsequently become the president.
We've also been hearing today from Samira Bawumia, the wife of the vice president. What has she been saying?
Well, she believes that her husband is honest. Her husband is humble, and this is the time that the MPP needs a leader like that to take them to the 2024 general election to break the age.
Are we ready to win the 2024 election? Are we ready for an honest leader? Are we ready for a humble leader? Are we ready for a hardworking leader? Are we ready for a leader who will unify us and not divide us? Are we ready for a leader who will take us to victory, inshallah? Are we ready for 4th November? Are we ready for 4th November? Are we ready for 4th November? I want Upper East to send a strong signal. I want Upper East to send a strong signal. And the signal is that
And that's Samira Bawumia at that rally. We are told that a lot of the party bigwigs and chairmen were also there openly declaring their support for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Well, his fellow contender, Dr. Owusu Akoto, believes that he is capable of breaking the 8 for the NPP in the 2024 elections. For him, he's warning that any attempt to subvert the will of the people will be disastrous for the party. Elton Brobe has more in this report.
Out of 958 delegates, Dr. Owusu Akoto polled 36 votes in the Super Delegates Conference in August, enough to secure him a seat among the table of 5. According to him, he went into the election hoping to make the first 5.
So our strategy was to make sure that we are in the 5, and we are in the 5. And this coming forth is a totally different ballgame altogether. because you are talking about 20 times
the number.
Yes.
So how do you respond to those who say that this clearly is a reflection of what is to come?
Oh, well, I think they are being, it's a misjudgment.
But why do you think that it can change?
Because the delegates down there are totally different from their leadership. Their leadership have disappointed them. I'm very confident that those down there who have suffered so much for this party will take the right decision. And that right decision is to choose also Efria Akoto as their flag bearer.
But after engaging more than half of the 900 super delegates, he was shocked that only 36 voted for him.
Fear the delegates, yes, and that's true. But the thing is that for me, talking to out of the 958 who voted, at least I can say that I spoke directly to more than half of them to convince, to sell my vision for the party and for the country. And I was very sure that at the end of it, they bought into my vision. At the end of the day, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So Fear was right, that you fear delegates. But in the case of the 220,000 delegates, I don't think I've interacted with even 10% of them. Except that you rely on the structures that you build to get your message to them.
But the insincerity of the delegates is not his only concern. The former Food and Agriculture Minister tells me the entire process was skewed in favor of one candidate.
The reasons given by Mr. Tremartin for quitting the contest to start with before coming out to say that he's no longer with the party, those are very solid ones, and I'm very sympathetic to those. See, the implication of all this is the unity of this party. If we are not seen to be having a level playing field, after 4th November, it's going to be very difficult to unite the party against the NDC. And for me, that is my worry. Because if people feel that they have not been fairly treated, how do you expect them to cooperate with the party after the contest when they feel that they haven't been treated well?
For 8 years between 2009 and 2016, Dr. Efria Akoto served as a member of parliament for Kwadaso in the Ashanti region. He was made Food and Agriculture Minister when the MPP won power in 2016. During his 6-year tenure, he spearheaded a government flagship program planning for food and jobs. The son of the late Asantehene linguist Bafo Akoto is counting on his strong roots in the Ashanti region to prepare him to victory. But he faces challenges there because the regional chairman, Bernard Nchibu, also known as Chairman Wontumim, has thrown his weight behind the Vice President, Dr. Mamadou Bawumia.
And today he was seated right behind Bawumia in that rally in the north.
And we're getting ready for PM Express this evening. We are hosting Adenimo.
Mr. Daimo will be my guest. He's one of the four in the primaries this Saturday. And then you want to join us on Thursday, Friday evening, actually, from 8 to 10 p.m. with Election Eve special.
I always look forward to that.
You really want to join us because we have an interesting analysis to unveil, plus also speak to the party bigwigs.
Yeah, and this is your election headquarters on radio, online, television. We've got you covered. But just before we go, we have our stories of hope for today. A quest to find a job in Ghana fails, but Abiola Tohip Abiodun does not allow life incidences to weigh him down. Hannah Odame has today's series of hope.
I said charger, earpiece, cover, protector, different kind of accessory.
Abiola Toheb Abiodun is a father of 3. He's been pushing this cart for over 5 years. He didn't start the business this way though.
I start with 100 cedi. I start with like more earpiece and charger, so bit by bit. But I thank God today that everything is my own, it's my business.
An origin of Ibadan in the Oyo state of Nigeria, the Polytechnic graduate narrates why he migrated to Ghana.
Oh, I just came here to hustle. My plan is that I will apply for company to continue the aluminium work. So and as I came here, I applied for some company. So they didn't take me. So that's why I started this one. If you are in somewhere and you see how the situation of the place are going, you need to move as a man.
When his quest to find a job as an aluminium fabricator in Ghana did not materialize, Abiola found selling phone accessories as the best option to survival.
I can continue with this forever because this one is a business. I'm planning to rent shop. If I get shop, I will make it in a big way and I'll start from it.
Abiola says he's not for once regretted any step that he's taken in ensuring his wife and children are well taken care of.
And it is possible to thrive in the midst of the economic crisis, and that's what we've been seeing and hearing in these stories of hope.
Yeah, and it's been a walk of shame, or Johnny walks the talk, and that's how people have described it. I don't know how you would describe it. John Dumelo has been walking backward after Presec beat his alma mater at Chimoto School. You know, you should be careful what you tweet and what you say. Like you owe me that bet. 5,000.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there. Yes.
But your favorite is here. Pep is here.
Hi, good evening, Emefa.
How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
What are you talking about tonight?
Tonight we want to do something special because today is the last day of October. It's still Pink October. We want to look at the technological advancements when it comes to breast cancer treatments and the detection. Yeah,
that's a very interesting conversation. Very useful one.
Yes,
timely indeed.
Yes, that's true.
Okay,
I'm stuck on you.
All right, join us.